Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Danny Gutierrez here on the Total Fight Mic. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. This is a very last-minute preview for the UFC Fight Night for Corey Anderson versus Jan Blachowicz, which is actually a rematch. A lot of people didn't know that Corey Anderson actually got the best of Jan Blachowicz early in his career, where he was, I think he was 5-1, 5-2, where he was just a wrestler, and he actually just started training with guys like Mark Henry over at the East Coast with guys like Frankie Edgar and Marlon Moraes and stuff like that. So he himself said in an interview that he had only been working on a 1-2. And that's my girlfriend and my dog in the background. And that he'd only been working on a 1-2 and was mostly a wrestler. Now with a couple wins and a couple losses, and with much more seasoning in his UFC light heavyweight career, he's much more than just a wrestler. He's a full-blown mixed martial artist, and you saw that in his last fight with Johnny Walker. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, and he capped it off with Johnny Walker, and he's going in with a 4-fight winning streak against Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz has won, I think, 6 or 7 out of his last 7 or 8 fights, because the only fight that he had dropped was to former #1 contender and title challenger Thiago Santos, and that was a knockout. But since then, Jan Blachowicz has actually been doing pretty good. He's on a 2-fight winning streak against 2 former middleweights. The knockout against Luke Rockhold, and the very close split decision win against Gutierrez, which you could argue was just a complete domination for Jan Blachowicz. It was kind of a lackluster performance from both guys, but I mean, that kind of happens at a high level when both opponents really respect each other so much, and there was real imminent danger in that fight because Jan Blachowicz knew the ground credentials, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu credentials of Jacare Souza, him being a former Strikeforce middleweight champion and a multiple-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, actually winning a gi Jiu-Jitsu tournament with his arm broken. So it was pretty interesting to see Jan Blachowicz kind of take his time and kind of feel out the fight, so to speak, and kind of not set his own pace, because he was kind of counter-fighting in that fight, but kind of allow Jacare to come to him so that he can kind of counter him with hooks. And the opposite happened when oh my goodness. When Corey Anderson, I'm forgetting names right off the bat. When Corey Anderson fought Johnny Walker, Johnny Walker had a lot of hype behind him, finished guys like Khalil Roundtree off very quickly, and he was just catapulting to a supposed air quote title shot. But Johnny Walker was expected to get through to Corey Anderson, who had been a little bit inactive. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Corey Anderson was only inactive because of his wife's pregnancy. He wanted to be there to support his wife's pregnancy, and that could be disclosed in the Joe Rogan podcasting experience, where Corey Anderson was a guest on his one of his MMA episodes. But he finally got the fight against Johnny Walker, and he blew him out of the water. And at the end, he was screaming, "There's levels to this, there's levels to this." So we're going to see what level both of these guys are at. But with the recent controversial decision win of John Jones over Dominic Reyes, I would believe that this fight is the #1 contender matchup, or a #1 contender eliminator, a title eliminator for both these guys. Now, another fight that is on this fight that's pretty interesting is Diego the Nightmare, or the Dream Sanchez, as he likes to be referred to now, is taking on Michel Prazeres, and Michel Prazeres is one of those guys that likes to do a lot of flashy stuff. He's a showman. He likes to go in there before the fight, walking up, running up alongside of the cage and doing flips, actually performing flying knees and getting knockouts. He got a knockout against Danny Roberts in his UFC debut. But in his second fight in UFC, he was just spamming flashy technique after flashy technique. For those of you who've played Japanese 2D fighting games, it's almost as if you had a spammer who was just throwing quarter circle shots the entire time. It's basically how his last fight went, and his opponent's name escapes me, but he was a Canadian fighter, and he actually did motion capture stuff for the UFC video game. So he was calm and composed. He was actually a lightweight, fun fact. going up a weight class against Michel Prazeres, he was calm, composed, and diligent with his energy, and was able to basically out-cardio Michel Prazeres. Now, is he going to be able to do the same thing against Diego Sanchez, who's been in there with BJ Penn, who's won the very first Ultimate Fighter, who's fought at 3 different weight classes? We don't know. We're going to see what happens. And is Diego Sanchez at the super end of his career? I mean, because of his CBD, his discovery to CBD, he says it's actually rejuvenated his career, and he actually feels great. So this is going to be a pretty interesting fight night. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this session of the Total Fight Mike, and I will see you guys in the sequel. Bye, everybody.